Thank you, Will, and thank all of you for taking time out of your schedules to join with us. I'm going to do something that I don't think in all of my years of public service I've ever had to do, but I'm going to invite the chairwoman of the Dutchess County Democratic Committee to join us in the front row because we have a reserved seat for you. I don't know that I've ever said that out loud before. But please, I don't want... We're all one big happy family today, and I appreciate that. Thank you, Chairwoman, for joining us. And I do want to also acknowledge, although we're not, if I get started, we may never finish, the former chairman of the Dutchess County Democratic Committee is here with us as well. The current executive director of the New York State Bridge Authority, Joe Ruggiero. Thank you, Joe, for joining us. Would you also join me in a nice round of applause and thanks to the men and women of the Dutchess County Department of Public Works who helped organize today's event. They did a wonderful job. And both Colleen Pillis and the men and women from my office who spent a great deal of time very carefully pulling together today's ceremony. So thank you, Colleen and Carrie and Sandy and everyone else. History is not just made by the individuals who live through the events of the past. History is made in part by those who gaze back at the individuals and events of our past. In some ways, historically significant events and individuals are indeed defined by the lens through which we examine them. This is, however, not to suggest for a moment that the woman we recognize today isn't deserving of acknowledgement and memorial. Not at all. The mere fact that she was and remains the only Democrat to hold the office of county executive is worthy of political mention. That she assumed the office in the aftermath of a scandal that rocked our county is reason enough to have had her earned our collective gratitude. That the voters in New York State had yet to elect any other woman to lead a county would appropriately call for a footnote in published historical accounts. And that she, a woman who cared about those less fortunate, those who struggled, those who felt overlooked, would have had to aggressively defend the civility, decency, and fairness of a community of people may well have earned her the moniker of champion. Indeed, these reasons alone would explain why we are assembled here today. But we come together for an additional reason, one that transcends any individual. It is in many ways another answer to the questions, who are we as a people and how do we hope to live? We have an obligation to generations past and those that follow to write in the firmament the names of those who helped to make us who we are and how we now live. Today, as Will noted, during the 300th year of our county's democracy, we pause to acknowledge an outstanding woman who helped restore that democracy, return dignity to an office, and hope to a people. Lucille Patterson served us with distinction and compassion, strength and grace. She led through challenges, expanded opportunity, and responded to the trials of her time. For that, and by Executive Order 5 of 2013, this county government dedicates the Dutchess County Office Building to her and for the people of Dutchess County to always remember the life and service of a remarkable woman. In his final comment of the June 20th Poughkeepsie Journal article reporting of her death, Lucille's husband Ross offered that she always loved doing something she had not done before. Well, her very election was something no one had done before. Each day in this building and throughout these halls, there was always something that had not been experienced before. The problems she solved with the team she assembled had not been confronted before. The respect and love she earned could not have been replicated before, and as her life has ended, cannot be extended again. So to Ross, Elise, Julia, and Leslie, thank you for sharing her with us. It would be disingenuous for me to suggest that I knew of her service firsthand, although my father did work for her as a member of the Department of Public Works. Most of the time he was quite supportive. But I do recall, as a young man, having first been elected to office, I do recall her service. I recall what she had left Dutchess County, and most and more importantly, I knew of so many that she had impacted and benefited. I came to know her and have a greater relationship with her in her service as a volunteer at Northern Dutchess Hospital, and she and I actually graced the runway during a fashion show. She was stunning, I was not. At every moment, everyone that had ever come into contact with her, who had served with her, who had debated with her, who had lost to her, all would tell you today that they left that relationship, that moment, that interaction with an appreciation for a woman who cared deeply about her beliefs, her principles, and her community, all of whom left with a sense of respect. And that is what we acknowledge and remember today. So on behalf of county government, the people of Dutchess County, as her predecessor, one removed, I proudly dedicate the Dutchess County Office Building in her honor and her memory. Thank you for allowing us to do that which had not yet been done before. And we thank you for sharing Lucille Patterson with the people of Dutchess County. Thank you.
It is now my pleasure to welcome Barbara Jeter Jackson, who also occupies the office of Minority Leader in the County Legislature.
Good afternoon. I'm happy to be able to join all of you this afternoon in the dedication of the County Office Building in honor of the late Lucille Patterson, the first and only female county executive in Dutchess County. Ladies, we have to do more about that. I knew Lucille as a gracious and considerate person who cared not only about Dutchess County as an entity, but also about the people in the communities that comprise Dutchess County. I met Lucille in the early days of her term as county executive. It was the first time I had ever been in the county executive's office. So you know I was very pleased about that. And not until our present county executive have I ever been in there again. She often invited community representatives to her office. There she heard some of our concerns, exchanged ideas, offered suggestions, and promised assistance wherever possible. I was thoroughly impressed with her concern and graciousness and with her consistency in keeping her promises. Those qualities prevailed for as long as I knew her. After leaving the office of county executive, she remained an active citizen in the community, and I'm sure her family can attest to that. She was always about. She always gave of herself wherever and whenever needed. And I shall remember Lucille Patterson as caring and concerned, as well as an efficient Dutchess County executive. And I think it's most appropriate today that this dedication take place in her memory. Thank you, family.
And now, one of the officials, department heads actually appointed by Lucille Patterson, Dr. Kenneth Galat, will join us to remember serving under Lucille.
I had the privilege of working with Lucille Patterson for 12 years, from November 1979 through December 1991. I said working with Lucille, not working for her. I felt ours was a collaborative, cooperative venture where she supported good ideas, encouraged creativity, was deeply sensitive to the needs of the mentally disabled, and oversaw growth in community mental health services unparalleled in the county's history. By the end of her tenure, Dutchess County was the largest community provider of public mental hygiene services in the state. I'm here on the program today not only to show my respect for Lucille's accomplishments and to express my affection for her as a brilliant executive and a caring human being. I'm here today because of all the department heads Lucille appointed during her 13 years in office, I have the unique distinction of being the only one who's still working in county government. I'm the last of the Mohicans. And for that, I'm indebted to her successors, Bill Steinhaus and Mark Molinaro. But that is also a tribute to Lucille, from whom I learned to be professional and apolitical in a decidedly partisan and political environment. So after all is said and done, I'm here today as the physical embodiment of Lucille's legacy, that public service is an honorable and honest profession, and that citizen needs should always trump politics. So on behalf of the Department of Mental Hygiene and the patients we serve, I want to thank County Executive Molinaro for his invitation to participate in today's program, and to let the Patterson family know that I am proud to be part of Lucille's legacy, and that it was an honor to serve with her. Her appointment of me has changed my life forever. God bless.
And now we have some comments for a man who does not need any introduction from those who knew Lucille, Ross Patterson.
It's a much cooler person than it was a minute ago in that chair, I have to say. I'd like to thank County Executive Molinaro and his friendly and efficient staff for this very generous and gracious act. I think perhaps some of the officials in Washington could learn something from this kind of graciousness. Many people played an important part in Lucille's administrations. I think of assistants to the county executive, some of whom are here today: Joan Spence, Sandra Shepard, Fred Knapp, the late Mike Murphy, and as research analysts, Barbara Byron and Rachel Page. As administrative assistants, Dee Ullman, Debbie Nugent, Betty Scapetis, Betty Wise, and Denise Jones. And as budget directors, Don Coombs, Jim Marquette, and David Squires. Lucille loved her staff and bragged about them a lot. When things went well, it was her staff who was given full credit. When things didn't go so well, Lucille personally took the blame. She stressed team effort, good qualifications for the people she appointed, strong sense of ethics in pursuit of their work. Her signal achievement, I think, and Will, I think, alluded to this, was the professionalization of county government. Not a very sexy title, and something that's never going to make the front pages of the tabloids, but true all the same. The emphasis on qualifications, on performance, on responsibility, and in many ways she completed the transition begun by David Schoentag and Bill Bartles, transition from the pre-charter government to the county government we have today. She actually liked many of her opponents and had good relationships with many. Not all, but with many. I think of Clyde Chase, the late Clyde Chase, the late Woody Close, the late Harry Schroeder, the late George Reed, and the late Joe Palucci. Woody and Lucille put on a couple of dramatic presentations for the benefit of Wilderstein preservation, and raised a fair amount of money and remained good friends until his death. They used to have lunch every year on each other's birthdays, and she said they could exchange political gossip. She recognized people in public office of both political parties at any gathering at which she spoke. Part of it was simply good politics. Part of it was a deep respect for government, for the people who do the hard work of government. And again, I think that resonates somewhat today when there seems to be so little respect for government and people in it at all levels. Lucille loved her job. She used to say she couldn't wait to get to work every morning. She loved the challenges and the problems that she confronted each day. She didn't duck tough issues, and the reporters who covered her can certainly attest to that. Lucille would have been surprised, I might even say astounded, at the dedication of the building to her, but certainly very, very pleased at this recognition, as am I, and as our family. And I thank everyone again who had a part in it. And I'll mention again the memorial today at 5 p.m. at Dutchess Community College in the James and Betty Hall Theater. Thank you very much.
It's my pleasure now to introduce Dutchess County Legislature Chairman Rob Rawlison.
Thank you, Will. As many of you know, I am a cheerleader for the Dutchess County Legislature and Dutchess County government, and today I get to be a cheerleader for Lucille Patterson. In 1973, she became a legislator, and I am sure the challenges of 1973 have translated into the challenges of 2013. And what Ross, you had said, it was generous, it was gracious about dedicating this building today. It is also important. As we celebrate our 300th year here in Dutchess County, there are people like Lucille and so many others, and to my colleagues in the legislature that are here today and the ones that can't be here. We need to remember the people who made a difference, whether that's in government, whether that's in community, or whether it's in our family. And I want to say to the Patterson family, thank you so much for sharing Lucille with us here in Dutchess County. The sacrifices that families make to let their loved ones become members of public service is incredibly huge and sometimes very frustrating and upsetting. But when you see that the work that Lucille did, today we're going to dedicate this county office building to her, all of those frustrating days and those long hours seem so far away. And as Steve Aquario would said, that Lucille was a fierce advocate for this county. And in 2003, when I became a county legislator, I had never been on the 6th floor of the county office building. I'd been in a motor vehicle like most of us. So I had the opportunity from time to time, a lot of times actually, to talk to my dad, who was a New York State senator during the years that Lucille was the county executive and a county legislator. But he relayed a particular story to me when we just talked about county government and its interactions with state government, and when Steve talked about the transferring of costs and the money, being passed on down the other way. Actually, it wasn't passed on down, it was taken back up. He said that he recalls many meetings with Lucille, and she was an advocate for Dutchess County. And she made no bones about where she stood on what the state government was doing to Dutchess County at that time. But he also said, like we all know, that she was the absolute class act as a county executive and fought those battles, but did it in such a way that you tried to work on the solution to the problem. And as Ross said, and others have said, it's kind of lost sometimes today on many of us. So I wanted to say in closing, as a young boy growing up, and in 1973 I was 15, I remember Lucille Patterson as the legislator and then as the county executive, as that class act, as that example of what a government official should be, should look like, because presence is important, and she had it. And today, as we move forward with this dedication, it couldn't be more important. It absolutely is essential that we do that and remember people like Lucille. And again, I am a cheerleader for the legislature, and as legislators, we say often, we need to remember the people that served before us, because we can't move forward without that mindset and that history. And I'm glad that Dutchess County is doing that, because there are so many people that need to be recognized, or at least remembered, because we'll make better decisions because of that. Thank you so very much.
At this point, I'd like to invite legislators Rollison and Jeter Jackson, and Ross, if you would join us in the front as we bring you all together. I know you're going to like the plaque, but you're really going to like this. This is my speech. No, this is. We want to present you, Ross and the family, both with the executive order dedicating this building and the press commentary from today's ceremony for you to have. I appreciate that. And as we unveil the plaque and dedicate this building, it is in one sense a bit sad that we hearken back to a previous generation to recall those moments where government seemed to work, where people, regardless of political party, seemed to get along, and that at the end of the day there was respect and appreciation for one another. There are not probably two people who had not had a more profound impact on my political career than Woody Close and former Assemblywoman Eileen Hickey, and both of whom benefited, Woody will tell you even from his loss, benefited from Lucille Patterson's service, but more importantly, when he was in the deep throes of just a crippling disease, he often spoke of their friendship. So let not the comments of today be merely a reflection on the past, but perhaps an inspiration for what we can and ought to be like in the future. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to unveil this plaque. Or it's going to unveil itself.
Yes, it does. It looks more like the copy.
I'm glad we moved in the right direction. I think they'll probably want to take a photograph. It's up to you. I'll stay by my side. Robin and Barbara, thank you.
Ron, you want to go? There we go. Get a little back.